One of the most unique things about Francis Ford Coppola as a director is the fact that he's probably the only one I can think of who's made at least 4 outright masterpieces and probably an equal number of disasters. For every Godfather, there's a one from the heart, but Coppola, to his credit, has never allowed critics or audiences to dictate the movies that he makes. And for better or worse, Megalopolis is exactly the film Coppola wanted. Whether or not anyone else will understand or appreciate what he's doing is another question. I must admit that even though I can find merit in almost all of his work, Megalopolis escaped me. So this is set in a futuristic metropolis named New Rome, with the city's mayor, Cicero, played by Giancarlo Esposito, battling an idealistic architect named Caesar Catalina, played by Adam Driver, who wants to create a sustainable utopia. It's an ambitious futuristic fable, which is what it's called on screen, imagining a kind of uncanny futuristic New York City crossed with the politics and intrigue of ancient Rome. New Rome seems to exist outside of the laws of gravity, with Adam Driver's Caesar able to stop time at will and seeking to create a utopian society within the city. This seems equally inspired by Fritz Lang's Metropolis and what Coppola himself tried to pull off with his production company American Zoetrope in the 70s and early 80s. Watching Megalopolis, it wasn't hard to see the thematic parallels between Driver, Caesar, and Coppola himself, especially if you know his work. People condemn Caesar for his ego and the scope of his vision, which happened to Coppola numerous times over the course of his career, including now, with him risking disaster pretty much every time he made a movie. Indeed, I despise the fact that Megalopolis turned out to be such an unwieldy mess, as the last thing I ever wanted to do at this year's TIFF was join the choir of Coppola haters, of which I'll never be one, even if I didn't particularly like the movie. Megalopolis is ambitious, but it's exhausting and almost incomprehensible. It feels like a 6-hour movie Coppola cut down to 138 minutes, with characters such as Dustin Hoffman as the mayor's fixer getting oddly unceremonious exits and noted character actors like James Remar stuck in walk-ons. The first half of Megalopolis is better than the second, as for a while you do get caught up in the movie's scope, with Coppola creating a beautifully stylized world. He invested a good chunk of his fortune in the movie, and he and DP Mihail Malamare Jr. have created a visual feast, especially on IMAX screens. However, the film's content is nearly incomprehensible, drowning in metaphors, montages, and camp performances that are embarrassing for those involved. John Voight, in particular, as the man bankrolling Caesar's vision, gets some howlers, particularly an unfortunate scene with a bow and arrow. The same goes for Natalie Emmanuel, who seems bewildered by her strange role as the mayor's daughter, who falls in love with Caesar, and at one point even masquerades as perhaps the world's least convincing 6th grader. The same goes for Giancarlo Esposito, who attempts to underplay his highly melodramatic role, but again, I hesitate to blame either of them. Adam Driver at least has the gravitas to play his iconoclastic role. However, he's a lot more convincing when he's playing Caesar as a genius than lengthy bits where we're expected to believe he's also a drug-addled playboy. The role simply doesn't suit him. Of everyone, the 2 actors who fare the best are actually Shia LaBeouf and Aubrey Plaza. The 2 play the most over-the-top characters and seem to be having a whale of a time. LaBeouf plays Caesar's cousin, a socialite who lusts for Emmanuel's Julia and control over the city. Plaza is a TV presenter named Wow Platinum, who is scorned by Driver and wants revenge. Both seem to know what kind of movie they're in, and I can imagine Coppola cracking with glee and screaming more whenever they start getting really crazy on camera. As this is still a Coppola movie, there are some impressively mounted set pieces, such as a sprawling one at New Rome's version of Madison Square Garden, where a Taylor Swift-style pop star, played by Grace Vanderwaal, auctions her virginity. Many Coppola regulars show up, including Lawrence Fishburne as Caesar's chauffeur, who also narrates the movie, plus Talia Shire and even Jason Schwartzman. There's even a live theater component to the film, and I'm not joking, where at the screening I attended, an actor shows up in the theater to interact with Driver's character on screen. In the last 40 minutes, Megalopolis becomes a real disaster, in my opinion, with so much jam-packed into the movie's third act that it becomes almost impossible to keep up with it. It becomes nonsensical as it races towards its ending, and again, one can't fault Coppola for his ambition. He financed the movie with the money he earned, so he has every right to make exactly the movie he wanted to make, but it's hard to imagine this ever connecting with anyone other than hardcore Coppola devotees, or maybe connoisseurs of bad cinema, and I give this a very depressing 5 out of 10.
Go.
Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.